All right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Inside In Tennis Podcast. Just moseying right through Wimbledon. Mitch Michals, Zachary Cohen, my guest on the show. Podcast part of the Believe Network and on all your podcast platforms as well. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your shows. We're into Wimbledon. 4th of July. There's no rest here. Celebrating America the only way we can. Talking tennis, talking Wimbledon. Zico, welcome back to the show. A little bit of a drama-filled Wimbledon on the women's side, I think, safe to say, but always a blast talking tennis with you.
Yeah, it's been insane on the women's side, and as I like to say, there's nothing more American than betting British tennis. So I do think it's a fun week, fun day. Excited to get into it with you.
I had a general thought, and I know you're on the betting side, obviously, knowing a lot about tennis in general, but the way the game's changed and it's cyclical, like when we were coming up in fans of the sport, it was always, okay, well, clay is going to be the variance, like it bounces higher, it's longer rallies, there might be more upsets. It just seems like the transition to grass has kind of been where the upsets are, and maybe it's the rarity of it. I don't have the data in front of me, but we've seen players that have some experience, like Draper and Chilich against Jack Draper, some players that play a little differently, like Laura Siegemund or Tatiana Maria in Queens. But does it feel like that maybe grass is kind of where the variance is now?
Yeah, I think so. And I think you said it's like the short grass court season just doesn't do a lot of these players favors. I mean, you have players that have played, on tour for 5-6 years that have probably played 9-10 matches on it in total because, it's a 3 or 4 week season. None of these guys really, have their footing on it. And like you said, like if you have a nice slice, like a player like Tatiana Maria, like you could really throw people off. And we just saw, Joao Fonseca lose to Nicolas Jarry. And that was a match where Fonseca was just sliding all over the place. Like these players just need some more time on this surface, I think.
Yeah. The footwork thing is an important part of it. And it's funny, we talked on the Tennis Channel show, Tennis Bets, where you're a regular contributor, about the betting side of all these upsets happening. But yeah, it's not a blanket statement, right? There's different reasons for all of them. I do think a good underrated point of that you made is the footwork. Players just aren't used to it. And what was the tweet you had? Like if he had cleats, he wins in straight sets or something?
Yeah. I mean, I saw him fall at least 3 or 4 times, and he was calling the trainer at one point for his foot, but the movement just didn't look right the entire time. And, Jarry was doing a little bit of a better job of just kind of stepping around the court and getting to the forehand than Fonseca was.
Yeah, and looking at it now, what's that going to be? That's 3 third rounds, I think, in a row in 2025 is essential debut year for Fonseca. I thought, I still think that that's pretty much where you want to be for a young player. Like he's not, letting down. I mean, the expectations thrown on him when he beat Rublev in that match were insane. But there were moments you see a young player, right? That tie break against Jarry. I mean, he had chances in the 4th set. We were talking about the Love 40 game, but 4-all in the tiebreaker, he's just going a little too big. He's just going for lines when that Novak Djokovic mode of locking it down is probably the right analytical play.
Yeah, that's going to be something that he's probably going to have to add to his game a little bit. I mean, I think that he's said it before that, his boldness is what makes him so special. And, you do see that with a lot of players. With Alcaraz, I think Alcaraz is a player that even in big moments, his answer is to just keep going bigger. And, there's no turning that off. So maybe that will be the type of player Fonseca is. Or, he'll find a coach that kind of tries to rein him in a little bit, like a Jannik Sinner, where, you still have the power, you still have like the brilliant ball striking, but you're just not missing as much. So it can really go anywhere from here. But I do think it's been a really good kind of debut season for him.
So he's going to be okay, Jarry, though, in a section like Cam Norrie next. Like this is, it's wide open. It is.
Yep. Yeah, Jarry's got a real good shot of winning that match because, I mean, Norrie is going to be the crowd favorite. Obviously, definitely has a lot from the baseline that he can work with, but when you can serve like Jarry can and kind of hit those spots, it's just really tough to beat you. I mean, Fonseca was not even playing poorly and just really didn't have his way in to a lot of rallies because of Jarry either hitting his spot and hitting aces or setting up +1s. Like it was a really good performance from him.
So there were some big upsets in the last 2 days. On the men's side, we talked about it. Jack Draper knocked out, and really, you want to talk about dominant fashion, to say the least. Like the way Chilich played was very, very impressive. We can get to Draper in a second, but Chilich, who at his peak, even on grass, a Wimbledon finalist, can do damage on this surface. But he does also play a little different than some of these kids. I call them kids, but some of these young players are used to. So when you combine not having a lot of experience on grass in Draper's case, and then having to deal with a throwback performance from a player like Draper and Chilich, that's a tough day at the office for anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, Chilich now is kind of like Nico Jari's like prime right now. It's like a very similar player where the serve is just huge, the forehand is really big, and he does a really good job of just kind of keeping himself in rallies where you really wouldn't expect him to for a big guy that, doesn't move that well. Like that match against Draper was, a really good performance from him, not just as a server, but as a returner too. I mean, Draper did do him some favors. He didn't serve all that well, but Chilich, performing the way he did from the back of the court was really impressive to me. And I do think it's like you said, it's a guy with a ton of grass court experience, and someone that has played tons of matches on it, going against someone that, while we expect him to be great on grass, really has not had as much buildup as you'd think.
It is a very tough spot. Even Draper talking about it, like I don't think the pressure was the reason he lost. Chilich played well, but it's always going to be a factor with him. And as Draper said, it puts into perspective just how special what Andy Murray did was, especially after some of the letdowns early in his career. It doesn't, the drought's not the same, so they're not just feeding for a title for the first time in almost a century, but you're a British player, especially a men's player, and you are coming in with hype. It's going to be a lot for anyone, even someone as talented as Jack Draper.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I do think that playing a big server like Chilich, it brings the pressure even more to its head, because it's like you're not just dealing with the pressure of playing in front of the British fans, having to deal with the British press, but it's like you have to hold every service game, otherwise you're going to lose the match. So it was just a ton on his shoulders in that match. I think that was really what ended up doing him in, is just how much he was dealing with in that specific match.
So the Djokovic domino in his way just fell by the wayside. I mean, it could be Chilich maybe that makes this run all the way to the quarter. We'll see. But Djokovic's draw, I mean, he dispatched Dan Evans very, very handily. We'll see what the next matchup goes for him. But it's one of the players that we thought, okay, when is he going to be tested? What's the real thing? Kekmanovic, obviously, next, the fellow Serbian, which we discussed is always a mental battle to get over. But got to like it if you're Djokovic in this spot. I mean, we'll see if he's even looked at the draw, Zico, but it's a clear path.
Yeah, he's a massive, massive favorite against Kecmanovic. I think that maybe the next test comes from Alex de Minaur, who obviously has had some grass court success in his career. That defense translates to all surfaces, and just a really tough player to beat. Having said that, like I do think that Djokovic's serve is just a little bit too good. I think he's going to be all over the demon serve, so I don't really see him losing that match. It would be somewhat interesting if we do see Menchik against Djokovic again in quick conditions again, because that we saw was a real problem in Miami.
No, that's a good one. The way Menchik, if he's serving well, it's a different type of match, and that's what I think a lot of us are looking forward to. But yeah, the way Jannik looks so far so good. Did you read the report that came out today that like why he might have let go some of his team members?
I didn't see it, but I had my own theory, so I'm interested in hearing what it was.
So, and this was not, and verifying this, I didn't get sent told it wasn't one of those type posts, but it was essentially that it was a information leak. He was not happy with some of the things getting out, specifically how he reacted after the Roland Garros final. And I gotta say, I guess I'm Team Sinner on this one. I wouldn't personally like that either if it was how I was, crying in the locker room, which again is a natural reaction. How he felt after that match. It sounds like, and again, well, this is just a report I read, so hopefully it's not inaccurate, but it sounds like it was more, and it goes with the saying, these are new members of the team. They hadn't built that bond for a long time. So it sounds like Sinner wanted a little closer to the vest.
Yeah, I did see. I was on the dark web of Reddit, seeing some people saying that it had something to do with an interview that came out afterwards.
Yeah.
That talking a little bit about some of the things that he's done with Djokovic and spoken to Djokovic about. I didn't know that it was specifically about the loss at Roland Garros. My personal thought when I first saw it was that he's just a really driven kid, and like he looked across the court at Alcaraz in that fifth set and was like, "Why am I not that energetic at this point in the match?" I mean, it was a really good performance from him from a fitness standpoint, like seeing him go 5 hours and even hold up at all. But my thought was, when I first saw it, was like, no, it wasn't good enough, because he has made changes like that before, like switching to a platform serve in like a week before a major. Like he's very bold about the decisions he makes with his staff.
Well, on grass, he's looked good so far. Significantly better than Alcaraz, who's playing right now as we record this against Struff in the fourth set. Interesting cat Alcaraz that guy is, because we know the A level. Like it's been said 100 times, right? When he's at his best, he is the best in a lot of areas. But where has that best been? It's only been shown in flashes. Do you have any overarching theories. Could it be motivation, getting back on the horse? I know the weather's been a topic of discussion, but this is now, for lack of a better term, 3 straight uneven performances from Carlos.
Yeah, I'm at the point where I'm trying not to weigh it too much because I've gotten, I've been guilty of kind of being suckered into believing that he's not playing his best level. And then, the big matches come and he does get there. I mean, I think we saw Alexander Vukic after playing against Sinner said like the difference between the two of them is, Sinner takes a break lead and like he steps on your throat immediately. Alcaraz, that break means nothing. He's going to play with his food. He's going to be a showman and, might let that match get away in a way. But that is the difference between them. Like, I just think the professionalism in matches. But it's not something that I'm too worried about with Alcaraz. I mean, as long as he wins, he wins.
Well, I want to get back to the men in a second, but on the women's side, unfortunately for you, Zico, the biggest upset we saw today was Madison Keys going out to Laura Siegemund. Siegemund just been knocking off. I mean, really, that might be the story of upsets so far. If you're talking about improbability, a 37-year-old German who has had injuries, who's never had a run like this at a big tournament, but if you watch her play, it's the style on grass that frustrates people. It's somebody that's not considered a big hitter. So there is that. But to beat a player like Keys in conditions like this and really do it handily in straight sets was something to see.
Yeah, and I know that there was some leak after that Keys might have been sick, but that really didn't seem like what it was to me. I think Keys was just kind of playing an old school Keys game where she was just missing a lot of shots that she really should have made, either going right into the net, hitting them long. And then I do think that Siegemund got in her head with, just some of her really strong play at the net. Like her hands up there were incredible in that match. And I think that she played big points like insanely well. And I don't think Keys did. So, if we do hear a little bit about the illness, I wouldn't read too much into that. I think Siegemund won that match and Keys kind of gave it away.
Would this be like a carnage situation on the women's draw? We still got some big names in there, but the mighty have fallen. The Americans have fallen. There's a few left there, but it has been way more collective upsets than we've seen in a long time for the seeded players in a women's tournament.
Yeah, I mean, it is insane right now, but we do still have some of the big dogs left. I mean, Sabalenka's still in. Iga, Rybakina can still win. I'm interested in seeing if any of them go down, because once they do, like, that's when the players that are, seeded 50 and higher are going to be like, all right, we could be this year's version of Krejcikova or Vondrousova. So it is getting interesting. I mean, this tournament on the women's side has been absolute chaos for, 3 years now.
We'll see what happens. We're recording this before Sabalenka Raducanu, interesting match, but that's the key section. So if Sabalenka gets through, like her chances. Raducanu, you said, I mean, being Vondrousova, as you coined it, might have been the best win Emma's had. It was stunning how efficient she played. No dips, no issues, just straightforward and an easy win.
Yep. Yeah, I thought that her ball striking was incredible. I thought that her defense was maybe even better. Like the way she was stealing points and just kind of flipping them around to win was insane to me. Like I know Vondrousova was a player that had a lot of steam coming into this tournament. I mean, she had just won a big one, beat Sabalenka in straight sets. Like I think a lot of people thought she had a real shot at winning her second Wimbledon here, and the way that Raducanu handled that match with ease was impressive.
There's a lot to digest in how they're pricing some of these favorites and what to look at. But you said Rybakina, and she's won here before, number 2 by the odds makers. Really was pretty much number 2 across the board before, but now, especially with how she's looked and the seeds that have fallen, she's got Clara Tauson next, who is a big hitter, beats Kalinskaya, comes through there. But are you buying that Rybakina's place where she should be and she's ramping up as a real contender here?
A little bit. I mean, that Tauson match is going to be really tough for her. And if she does face Iga, I think that's a coin flip match. So I wouldn't say that like she's, one of the favorites. I mean, I guess she is one of the favorites. I wouldn't say that I think she's going to win. She's got as good of a chance here as she does anywhere else. But it is strange. If you look back to that Wimbledon, it was a bit of a weird tournament. And I just do kind of wonder if we'd be having a completely different conversation about her had she never won that one, because there hasn't been as much success since then as you would think. So I don't know if we should be considering her on par with an Iga or a Sabalenka, heading into events like this. But obviously, when she is serving well, the grass court game is perfect.
It's a tough one, right? Because she made the Aussie final, Sabalenka's first major title ever. Won Indian Wells, beat Sabalenka. So there was like an 18-month window where we thought big three meant those three, and Coco was kind of struggling. So hasn't happened recently, but maybe this is what we need from her to get back in the mix. And yeah, Iga, the serves looked better. I know McNally takes the first set. Iga handles it in sets 2 and 3. she gets Danimal next, Danielle Collins, and we know there's no love lost there. So I don't know. That's a funny one, right? Like, I don't know if I'm going to be, after the match is over, Zico, taking anything out of it, because that could just be a rock fight. But Iga, at least as so far, looks better on the grass.
Absolutely. But I've said it before with you on Tennis Bets Live. Like, she struggles with these alpha mentality players like a Collins, like an Ostapenko. I think it really brings out the worst in her mentally. So let's see how she looks in that match. I mean, if she comes through that in impressive fashion whatsoever, that's going to be a huge confidence booster for her moving forward.
Yeah, that's safe to say. Alpha mentality, Danielle Collins, and somebody that I don't think we were expecting to see here. So, she, or maybe not as easily as she's gotten through here with Kostuk losing. That certainly opened things up. Yeah, it's a bit of a step up, right? McNally was someone they'd played doubles together. She's very friendly with. It was great to see McNally back, win an opening round, and then push Iga to 3 sets. But a little bit of a step up. But yeah, it would be the funniest thing, right? If Iga just has grass court success and reaches like the semis or the final.
Yeah, and I think I said it to you, like, this is why she made the coaching change she made before this season. I think she was, not satisfied with just doing really well every clay court season, being a non-factor on grass completely, disappointing a little bit on hard courts. I think she wanted to get a lot better playing on faster surfaces, and we kind of saw it in Melbourne. Like, I thought that she played maybe the best Australian Open we've seen from her in quite some time, and had the match point against Keys. So that was a match that easily could have gone either way. So I do think that we're starting to see some strides from her in terms of just being a little bit more efficient with her serve on faster courts and just being a little bit better when playing rushed. Because I know that players have always tried to get her rushed and get her uncomfortable. It's a little harder to do that now.
Certainly is. Speaking of maybe things we weren't expecting to see, is Krejcikova back to being a factor, a small factor, a sliver of a factor?
I think so. I mean, I don't know how you could rule her out on any of like the natural surface slams. I think when she's playing well, she's incredibly tough to beat because of the variety she plays with, the big match experience she has. I think seeing her now win a couple of matches, get a few under her belt, she's now really dangerous. That match with her and Navarro is going to be a really interesting one because I think the winner of that one could very well win and make the semifinals.
Yeah, Emma has been just doing everything she has to do. This is a tough test. And we saw Emma last year, right, get the win over Coco Gauff and then play Paulini. It was a little bit different. She didn't like how the style of play was. I'm going to be all eyes on this one because I think there's a real chance for both these players to make the move. But it's funny, right, how confidence works. And you alluded to it too, right? Like, Krejcikova just needed to realize and get the confidence that her game was back. She did pull out of that tournament, but it was a more, okay, I'm set now, as you said, like we're good to go for Wimbledon.
Yeah, I think sometimes you worry that it's an injury, and sometimes it's just, I shouldn't be playing anymore. I need to preserve my body because she had to go out and defend this title. And I think she obviously saw in 2 matches she's in good enough shape to do it. She's feeling decent enough about her game. And now we've kind of seen it in London where she has played pretty well so far.
We got more with Zachary Cohen here on the Inside In Tennis podcast. We're talking Wimbledon 2025, almost at the second week. So we'll see as we get to these final rounds how storylines shake and develop. Speaking of storylines, and I'm not gonna kick on any personal stuff as they're down, but Zico, did you read Goran Ivanisevic's comments about Tsitsipas this morning?
Yeah, I don't want to get into the Badosa stuff either. I just don't care. But the Goran stuff, that was concerning to me. I mean, like, that's just for your coach to be saying that you're not prepared. That was a little shocking to me. And I think I always kind of thought that maybe when we saw Apostolos like out of his box, that maybe he was kind of missing some tough love. But now having it coming from all angles, like, it's a little interesting. Like, we're going to have to see some real changes from him moving forward.
There's a side, and it's not a poor form to think, okay, maybe Goran shouldn't be sharing this publicly. I get that. I think if you know anything about Goran, he's probably not going to mince words. He's going to be as brash as he is, and that's all right too. But a lot of people, and I think I'm one of them, would say, okay, maybe this could be a good thing if Tsitsipas realizes changes have to be made, because we all saw from the outside that it was trending in the wrong direction. I know health is a large part of that, but something needs to change or he's not going to be a contender. He's not right now. None of us really put him as a legit contender in these tournaments. And unless something changes, as startling as it may be, he will not be a contender in major events.
Yeah, and what's crazy is like for a player with that good of a serve and that good of a forehand, the floor should be insanely high. I mean, we've seen Nico Jarry now make a deep run at Wimbledon. We're seeing Marin Cilic knock you off of Jack Draper. Like at his very worst, Tsitsipas should be able to perform like that. But the backhand is a problem. I don't think the serve is as good as it used to be. He needs to refocus himself, and maybe everything that's happening now will help him do that a little bit.
You can't have a weakness at this level, or you will get targeted. But these pros are so good; they're like sharks in the water. They'll smell blood, and analytics now. They've all got data points of exactly what to do. So, but we'll see. Stubbornness can be a good thing, but you got to adjust some things too. So, wish him the best going forward. If we're going to be on the negativity train, how that Shelton Hinchikata match ended up was just absurd too. But par for the course, maybe. I don't understand, Zico, why they wouldn't have stopped it earlier with players slipping, with light fading. But you have to let him serve it out. 5-4 in the fourth set, match on your racket. You got to give him one more game, regardless of the fact that it's one of the best servers in all of tennis.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he is one of the best, like, that's why you got to use your judgment. Like, if he gets broken, sure, suspend it to tomorrow, whatever. But give him the chance to serve it out. It ended up taking like a minute when he did it the next day. It's I don't know. I can't say it's a rule it's going to change. They're not going to change. Like, they're very stuck in their traditions there. But it was a little ridiculous seeing them have to come out and play that one game.
Ben Shelton, 10-2 in majors this year. His percentage in big events is very good. And yeah, another guy, right? Maybe this is just how we assess Ben Shelton, right? Like, gets to top 10, has a couple of horrid performances, but when the lights are the biggest, it doesn't seem to matter how he played going in. He just shows up time and time again in majors.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of like a Tiafoe on steroid situation, because it's like I don't trust them tournament to tournament, but when we do get to the slams, as you just mentioned, they're going to play their best tennis. And Shelton, we have really not seen many early exits from him. It seems to always be him there at the later stages of events. I think that that's definitely a theme moving forward more than an early career fluke. I just think he really likes the spotlight. Like I just said with Tsitsipas, it's like that big serve gives you a very high floor. And if he's playing even decently from the back of the court, he's going to win a lot of matches. So I think it's something about him. I think it's just something that you either have or you don't. I think he definitely has it.
For lack of a better term, it seems like not everybody, but for a lot of players, he can just kind of alpha them in the match and win. Like he just finds, it's not even his best sometimes. He'll win by just his personality and his perseverance. But Fucsovics next is going to be a test of fitness there, getting by Monfils, another match that had to go to the next day, which probably didn't spell good things for Gael Monfils.
Yep, that was a tough one for Monfils. I mean, he had the chance to serve it out in four. Having to wait an extra day as an older player, that's really tough. And Fucsovics also was working on an injury early in the fourth set, so having an extra night to kind of get that right for the next day, that was one of the best timed suspensions for a player I've seen in a while.
The other American men to note, we know Tiafoe got bounced by Norrie. Tommy Paul, that was just brutal to see, right? Like you never want to just blame it all on an injury, but when he had the ankle and situation got taped up, it was never the same. And for a player like Tommy Paul, Zico, you can maybe mask injuries if you're not so reliant on athleticism, but that's just the core of his game. When he's hampered, it's a losing hand against a well-rounded player like Offner.
Yeah, what makes Tommy Paul so unbeatable is his speed, the way he moves along the baseline, the defense he plays on the back of the court. It's like if De Minaur, hurt his ankle. Like these are the types of players that they just don't have the weaponry required to win with a bad ankle. So that was really tough to see. But I don't know where you're going with it. I thought maybe you were going to give some love to Taylor Fritz, who I thought was next. I thought like when I saw that draw, that there was a really good chance he was going down in round 1 or 2, because those big servers are just tough to beat back to back at Wimbledon. And even Davidovich Fokina, a player with a decent grass court track record and a good overall game for it. So for him to be here in round 4, that's really impressive to me.
Jordan Thompson next. Can't believe Thompson made it this far too, because he is not 100% healthy. But so putting your gambling hat back on, when a player like Fritz, a top end player, has a tough draw, makes it through. Maybe, okay, it's a little physical. He's played a lot of tennis. But where do you assess him? Is that a great thing that he's battle tested and he's passed these tests? Or do you look at it like, okay, maybe he worn down a little bit and has some stuff taken out of him?
Yeah, I think it depends on the player, and it kind of depends on what happens a little bit later on. Like having to play 2 5-setters to start a tournament after going and winning 2 tournaments in the grass court season where nobody else is really playing, like that is a pretty big physical toll on your body. Having said that, like the match against Diallo and the match against Impechi Pericard, they're not as physical as normal 5-setters just because so many points are being won quickly. And I do think that Fritz is a player that is in great, tremendous shape. He got the 4-set win over Davidovich Fokina. Maybe that gives him a little bit more time to kind of get ready. And I do think that he really should handle his business against Thompson. Like if he plays with his food there and goes 5, yeah, he'll be begging for trouble in his next match. But he has to look at this one as a way to win, in 4 or less, get his body kind of reset and catch up to some of the other players in terms of time on court. Once he does that, I think he's in really good shape. But I think my question with Fritz, as I have with, a lot of other players on tour, is can he win against an elite player? Is he the type of player that just beats the guys he's supposed to? I know that he's beat up on Zverev pretty good, but doing it against Alcaraz, if he has to play him, that's where the question with Fritz comes.
Well, you could get a quarterfinal matchup against Nuno Borges, Aaron Hatchinoff, or Kamil Marashuk, who beat Rinderknecht. I mean, the draw's looking good now. That was some wild events, some wild draw breaks happening in that one. But hey, we'll see. Hatchinoff fights, but Borges is battling in the 5th.
Yep. Yeah, I think Khachanov is a player that I thought had a really good shot here because I was kind of looking, when I was putting my betting hat on, as you said, for opportunities to kind of fade Zverev a little bit in that quarter because I just didn't really see him being the one to get out of that. But I thought, maybe it would be a Berrettini or a Khachanov. But I mean, if it ends up being Fritz, that's the guy that I guess most would have expected.
I mean, what happens if Alcaraz in the 4th set? I'm just saying, what's the Wimbledon final look like if it doesn't involve Carlos Alcaraz?
I mean, if it's not Alcaraz, then Fritz does have a really good shot of facing Sinner in another Grand Slam final, and it'd be on a surface where I believe Fritz would feel better about his game than Sinner would.
He'd have to feel better than he would on a hard court against Jannik Sinner.
I think so. So I mean, that's got to be exciting if you're Fritz.
Yeah, Sinner gets Pedro Martinez to get to Dimitrov or Offner. Pretty good work if you can get it. But we could get Shelton coming up against a little B-Knock or Sonego. So some interesting matchups there. I think that, you got Holmgren in. So we've got the top guys, but we've got some upsets, some qualifiers, some protected ranking guys that have made their runs.
Yeah, absolutely. And Shelton Nakashima would be fun to see because they've played a lot in the past, and usually Shelton kind of has his number, but it is a matchup that I've always thought would be pretty good for Nakashima. It's just 2 really good servers. You're going to see some tiebreakers, and from there, anything could happen. That's the type of match, though, where you kind of see Shelton, like you said, alpha his opponent and just find a way through off, pure, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for is, but just having the ability to come up clutch in big moments. Like that's where Shelton kind of edges Nakashima a little bit.
So on the women's front, getting back to that for a second, I wanted you to explain, because we're here, why you think Haley Baptiste is going to beat Mira Andreeva.
I think that Andreeva is getting a lot better on faster courts. Like I think that her serve this year is better than it's ever been. I think her forehand is definitely better than it's ever been. I think that she's winning more quick points than we usually see, but I still think that opponents can kind of beat her, winning the 0 to 4 shot or 1 to 4 shot category and just kind of picking up the easy stuff. And I do think that we've seen it earlier in her career on grass. I mean, it's a really small sample size, so hard to overreact to that, but only 6-5 on this surface, whereas, the results everywhere else are stellar. I do think that, Baptiste is a player that can really outmuscle you. And I also think Baptiste is, when you look at players on the women's tour, like there's a lot that have a lot of power. She also has really good hands and just feels. So I think she can mix in from some slices, some drop shots, some, rushes to the net. Just a player that I think can make you really uncomfortable. So if Andreeva is not serving, particularly well or, finishing points easily, I could see it being a match where Baptiste just, kind of hangs around and has her shots to win.
I like it. I like the fact that we don't have the track record with Andreeva on this surface, and the way Baptiste plays also is battle tested too. So if this match is a 3-set long one, she's built to go and won't shy from that moment either. I think the Mboku match was one that told a lot right of where these players are. It was a great first set, long tie break. In the second, the better player, the more experienced player right now, pulled away. So yeah, it's a trendy pick. I like it. So there's an opportunity there, but we'll see.
And I'll say, Baptiste is a player that I think we're going to see in the top 15 very soon. I don't think it's I'm not saying this because I think it's like just some shocking upset based on stylistic clashes or anything. Like I think Baptiste is just kind of scratching the surface of where she's going to be. Like I think she's a really, really talented player that's just kind of putting it all together this year. I think she's 18-10, first year of her career where she's got like a winning record convincingly, and it's only going to get better as she just kind of learns to win matches. Because there's been a few this year where I've seen her hang around and just kind of like let sets unravel. But I do think that this is the start of something really special for her.
Yeah, that it was Osaka in Miami. Is that the one I'm remembering?
That was the exact one that I was thinking of. So.
Yeah, I like that one. I mean, I like calling shots, especially like that for Americans. I was kind of on that. I'm still on the Ashley and the Kruger train. I think Ashley and Kruger is still somebody that can make a run up there. And we've seen some of the other players. Maya Joint's one that's into the top 40, even though she lost here. So, yeah, I can buy that. Speaking of the Americans, we didn't mention her, but how lively is Anisimova now, given how she's looked and what the draws looked like?
So I will say, Noskova is another player that I'm very, very high on. Like, I just think that her baseline firepower is insane. Like, I've seen her do some things at tournaments that are just outrageous to me. Like, I think that in another world, she wins a few early tournaments in her career. We're talking about her kind of with Andreeva, but I just think that's a really tough matchup for Anisimova. I hope that the American can get through that one. I definitely, picked her to win that quarter and make the semifinals, and view this as a tournament that maybe she can win, because I think we've seen some weird things happen at Wimbledon over the years, but this wouldn't be quite as weird. Anisimova is a player with a pretty strong history on grass, or as strong as it could be in a short grass court season, but a player with a great serve, some real power from the baseline, and we mentioned it on Tennis Bets Live, but a good head-to-head record against Aryna Sabalenka. So if she does see her in the semifinals, if that's what ends up happening, she'll be confident that she can win that match.
Yeah, that she'll definitely be confident. She has the firepower. Weirdly enough, Zico, I think that weird match against Tatiana Maria is probably going to help her. Like, she just got outfoxed by somebody crafty, and I think that might be a good lesson plan for a bigger tournament like Wimbledon.
Yeah, I mean, it should help. It's learning, playing different types of players. Like, it's always going to help you, because then you see something and you feel better prepared for it next time. But I don't know if she'll see anyone quite like Tatiana Maria the rest of this tournament.
No, that would have been a perfect walk-off moment, right? Like, just like Fognini losing to Alcaraz center court in 5 sets, just walk it off,
Yeah.
Maria winning Queen's Club, that's it. More with Zachary Cohen here on the Inside in Tennis podcast, talking Wimbledon as we gear up for the second week of the Wimbledon Championships, the All England Club. A couple other things on the women's draw. We have some big, interesting round 4 matchups, right? So looking at it right now, you're going to have Sierra versus Siegemund, and you're also going to have you're going to have Cartel taking on Pavlyuchenkova. Those matches took place because Cartel making her way through the draw. Perry was the qualifier she beat there. Pavlyuchenkova, Zico, beats Naomi Osaka. And Naomi, obviously gutted by this loss, because as great as Pavly's been, and she just keeps popping up and staying around, this match was right there for the taking for Naomi, but she just couldn't do it.
Yeah, and that kind of feels like a theme for Osaka right now. Like, since the comeback, like, I feel like there's been so many moments where her game has looked so close to that top level, but the winning just hasn't been as consistent. And I feel like maybe it's the type of thing we're going to see her win a big tournament, and then she's going to start rattling off a few, because I don't think, she's too far away from being at that top level. And I think that she's done a lot better work from the back of the court in terms of her movement, getting, in and out of corners. Like, I think for a while, when at the beginning of that comeback, she just was not a big mover, and she was kind of slugging from the back of the court. She's been way, way better about staying in rallies now. But yeah, she's got to start winning some matches, some of these types of matches.
Your guy, Patrick Mortaglu, said in reference to Naomi, it's been good. Everything's been good. She just needs more matches. She needs more wins. Like, there's no moral victories. There's nothing really else that needs to be said. She needs to just get results. It's a results-based business. And it's frustrating, right? You can't put yourself in her shoes, because she's won so much. It's frustrating for anyone that can't get over the hump, but when you've done it before and you're close, but yet maybe far away, I can't imagine how frustrating that is.
Yeah, it's got to be tough, especially when she had to kind of walk away in the middle of her prime. Comes back. She's still young enough to win these matches. It's just like you said, it's something she's not able to do at the moment. And I do think that there was the week where she went down and won a challenger, and I thought that was really smart, just to kind of get those juices flowing. I do remember like early in the year she was kind of looking unbeatable before getting hurt, and that was another small step back that really kind of hurt her. But yeah, I don't know what the answer is going to be. It's going to be something that happens, and we're not going to expect it. But then I do think we're going to see some more wins out of her once it does.
Well, it's a shocking development, to say the least, that we've got Pavlyuchenkova in the mix. Anybody else on the women's side you've got your eye on? We didn't talk about maybe Alexandrova, who has an opportunity to get to a quarterfinal in her section of the draw. There is Kazakina Samsonova. I mean, that Section 8 is just pick your poison. I could see any one of those four women into the quarters.
Yeah, I think Samsonova is really interesting because I did a pre-draw show where I kind of said that she would make the quarterfinals or lose in the quarterfinals against Coco if that match were to happen. But now that has cleared up a little bit for her, that's a player that I think has a really good grass court game just because she's got a lot of firepower. I mean, when she's playing well and serving well, she's very difficult to beat. She is a player that I do think can kind of bottle matches up. Nerves can get the better of her, but it is, a reasonable draw. I think everyone down there in the bottom half of quarter four has to be feeling like they have a shot.
Yeah. Mertens did just finish Svitolina, so she goes through Mertens, who's had success on the grass. And it's kind of like a gatekeeper in a lot of ways, right? You know what you're going to get from her. She's not going to give you an easy out at all. So she'll get the winner of Sabalenka, Raducanu. And it looks like Alcaraz is through as well. So crisis averted there. But with that Mertens win over Svitolina, looking at it right now, Zico, I'm counting the seeds that are out. It looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, about 10 of the 15, 9 of the top 15 seeds are out. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's funny if we're going to be looking at a potential Sabalenka Mertens match, and then right below it is Ciara Siegmund. It's insane. To look at this draw.
That's the argument for the reseed, right? Like the NFL playoffs did and hockey used to do. Just maybe I know it's not going to happen, but there are certain situations where I think a reseed might be good because we'll see what the spectator interest is. I have a feeling. But on the men's side, Zico, any other matches we're looking forward to?
I mean, I'm pretty interested in Dimitrov Offner because I thought Dimitrov's level last match was really impressive against Mute. I thought Mute played very, very well. And I thought I had real chances to win that match. And Dimitrov just kept coming up with the goods when he needed to. I thought the movement was really good. And it's a player that we know is really dangerous on grass. We just don't know if he's going to be healthy for the entirety of the tournament. And if he does get there to play Sinner, who we keep saying is maybe a more untested here than he is on any other surface, I would really like to see Sinner against Dimitrov on grass.
Menchie Kubeli actually stands out a lot to me because I want to see, like you said, serving well here. Can he be another thorn in his idol Djokovic's side down the road? But no slouch in this spot with Fabio Kubeli. So that's one. And seeing what we know going into Sunday, we already have a couple round of 16 matchups. Jory and Nori, Fritz and Thompson. Women's side, I think we're locked in already with Cartel Pavlyuchenkova. And that Neskova-Anisimova match actually is going to be one I'm going to be locked in on because those are two dangerous players with a golden opportunity.
Yeah, and I guess I'll just ask you because I don't think we're going to talk before then. Who would you like in a Sinner Alcaraz final on grass? Putting you on the spot.
Yeah, you are. I think I'd lean Sinner right now. Yeah. Right now. It's crazy to say, but it's not that crazy to consider that he was slightly a betting favorite over Alcaraz at a time not too long ago for these championships. I think motivation's a big thing, and I do think that I'm not going to take the recent form of Alcaraz into complete panic. He can still beat and probably will beat everybody else in the field, but it's something to consider when he plays Jannik Sinner, and I think Sinner coming in pissed off, motivated, hungry, I think that makes him a more desperate man in the situation. So I think I'd lean Sinner right now, but I'm not this is not like a confidence, put it on the wall play. This is just my thought is that Sinner does not want to lose a 6th straight match to this guy that will howl out. In his view, I'm imagining Zico, because we all know number one in the world's a special thing, but it will take the luster out of that number one ranking if you just can't beat this guy.
100%. And I think the one thing I'll say about the matchup that I feel like isn't talked about enough is Sinner has served really poorly the last few times they've played, just like way below his averages when talking about first serves in. And I think, some of that has to do with, needing to be a little bit more perfect because of the other guy on the other side of the net. But some of it's also just something that has to be reversed. We were talking about positive aggression. So I think we're going to see a match where, Sinner goes out there, makes 65% of his first serves at some point and just kind of beats him in 4 or less, the way that we almost saw him do it at Roland Garros. But it has to turn soon, or we're not even going to be talking about it as a rivalry. It's got to change.
Do you think, here's my question for you, do you think Novak would rather be in Alcaraz's side or prefers where he is now, Sinner's side, if he had to admit?
I think he'd rather play Alcaraz. I think he's kind of got that, feeling down of what he can do to beat him. I think it's kind of attacking that forehand side with the serve, like the slider out wide, coming to the net and putting those points away. And I do think that he thinks, longer rallies against Alcaraz will eventually bait him into, hitting an unforced error, which kind of what we saw in Australia when he was injured. I don't think it's a fluke that he's beaten him 2 times in a row. I think he's got a good chance in the matchup. Maybe Alcaraz would be expected to win because he's much younger, he's more athletic, he should be able to win the match, but I think that he has a better game plan against Alcaraz than he does against Sinner.
I completely agree. I think it's also the dips in his game give Djokovic openings to maybe get back into matches or pull away or make his move like we saw in Australia. It's why styles make fights, because we both believe Alcaraz at his A level is the best A level in the sport, but will he hit it and will he get to that point as long as he needs to? That's why this game's great. Zachary Cohen, awesome stuff again, as always, on the Inside in Tennis podcast. We can find you on Tennis Bets Live and on VSIN. You got some stuff working up, I'm sure, during Wimbledon.
Yeah, I'll have some picks up on the site later today. I mean, I don't take any days off, especially not July 4th. We need some tennis picks.
Yeah, I'm just delighted to see where this goes. So, Zico, always a blast, man. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you. Looking forward to doing it again.
That was Zachary Cohen. This was the Inside in Tennis podcast. We're available on all your podcast platforms. Just go to Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever you get your shows. All part of the Believe Network. And check out the YouTube episode, my YouTube page for full video episodes. Go to @Mitch Michals for this chat, as well as the other full catalog of episodes. For Zachary Cohen, I'm Mitch Michals. This was the Inside in Tennis podcast. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you soon. Enjoy Wimbledon, and happy 4th of July, everyone.